All right, I got a weird one today here. We've got this EVO 10 here that got towed in last night. And so this guy actually has an issue with not cranking. So a little bit of backstory here. The customer somehow broke the antenna for the key. So he replaced it. This is the one that came out of the car. This is the broken one. He replaced it. And this is the original key to the car here. And so what happens is that he's had it programmed, but we get a no crank condition here. So, and that's what we're working on today. So what we're trying to do here is to determine whether it's an issue with the immobilizer or an issue with the actual starter or wiring or something along those lines. So the day that he somehow broke this is the same day that the car stopped starting. That's his words, not mine. So he thought it was an issue with the immobilizer, and so that's why he had it programmed and all that other jazz. And so, like I said, that's what we're checking out today. So first things first is we're just going to kind of give this thing a visual inspection here. We're going to take a look at the starter and the wiring to said the starter and see what we've got. All right, so we found the starter. It's underneath the intake manifold, kind of in a really not so good position. So I've got our power probe. I've got our power probe here. We're gonna go ahead and hook this sucker up here, and we're gonna try to activate the starter using the power probe. So the battery on the EVO 10s, for those who do not know, is actually in the trunk of the vehicle. And so the access point for power is actually under this guy here that apparently just slides up. I've been tugging on it for no damn reason. Okay, so we got our power probe working. The key is off and it's not in gear, so I'm gonna reach in and I'm gonna try to activate the starter using our power probe. Okay, it took a little bit to figure it out, but I had to do some looking at and found out that this is the starter relay. So we're gonna manually kick over the starter here because I couldn't get to the starter underneath the car easily. So okay. So obviously the starter is clicking, but it's not turning over. So I think that's actually a bad starter, is what I'm thinking. Or it potentially could be a bad ground to it. So let's see here. What we're gonna do now is just going to check over the cranking signal. So when I go to key it on, we should hear this thing, So now what we're gonna test is we're gonna test the start signal here. And so with the clutch depressed and the key turned over, if we hear beeping from here, or from the power probe, then we know that everything as far as like allowing it to crank over works. Okay, it just blew the circuit breaker there. So it cranks over. Doesn't seem like it wants to start though. Now I don't know if that's still an immobilizer type reason why it won't start, but it definitely has an issue with the starter for sure. Oh. Okay, so it seems like it's working now. Let's go ahead and loosely put that back in. Let's try to crank it real quick here through the car and see what we got here. Okay, so we got nothing when it comes to the car. Which is really weird to me because usually, and this may not be like a every car thing, but normally when you have an issue with the immobilizer, the car will still crank. it just won't actually start because the fuel pump is not active or it's not supplying spark or something. So I've got the key in the on position here. We're gonna try to crank it over here with the power probe and see if it'll start. Okay, so car still doesn't start even though the key's on. So all right, that's not a good look at all. So right now I'm just using our Altel here to scan all the codes just to see what's gonna pop up. So right now, as far as the ECU itself, there's no codes. This is the engine computer, but TPMS has a code, so we're just gonna let it scan, work its magic, and then see what complete faults that we have just before we start moving forward. So okay, so we do have a couple of immobilizer type codes here that are saying that it's like a VIN mismatch and stuff like that. That could be from before. I'm going to try to clear this to see what happens, and then once it clears, we're going to reread it to see if we have any other issues here. Okay, so those codes, even though I cleared them, came right back. So there's obviously some issue with the immobilizer steel. Supposedly it was programmed, but right now it doesn't seem it because it doesn't want to read. So I don't know if this key, I don't think this key is cut to this ignition cylinder. It definitely is not. Unfortunately, looking at the service manual for these two specific codes, it just shows that the key is not the correct key for some reason, even though this original one and supposedly the locksmith programmed it. So there seems to be a problem there. I'm not sure how we're going to move forward. I'm going to have the customer call the locksmith to see if he can come back and reprogram it, because there's definitely an issue with this. Now, it might not be the fix for our problem, but there is definitely an issue there. All right, so this car has an access port on it, and I'm starting to wonder what if there's an issue with them trying to flash a map, the locksmith that is trying to flash over the access port. The access port shows that it's connected and everything was working, so it didn't have any errors. It didn't, like, it was able to read the vehicle and everything and flash. So that's a good sign, I think. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to unmarry the access port and then just try again to see if it makes any real difference. I'm not holding my breath. The good thing is that this car is not heavily modded. It's only got, I think, like exhaust, bolt-ons. It doesn't have any fueling upgrades, so we should be able to get it to start on the stock map. But yeah, so that's what we're going to try next, just to see if it has any bearing on the immobilizer codes or not. So unfortunately, I tried to crank it over just now and it made zero difference. Car doesn't start. Still no indicator on the dash though for immobilizer. So I guess at this point we can try a couple other things and hope for the best, but unmarrying the access port did not fix it, unfortunately. So now that we've unmarried the access port, I'm going to use my Tactrix cable to see. I know on certain models you can disable the immobilizer. I don't know if I can do it on the EVO X, but that's what we're going to try next. We're just going to try to see if we can disable it altogether. If we can disable it just to test it, then we can at least continue to troubleshoot to say that yes, it is an issue with the immobilizer or not. This is why I hate open ECU. So I had to, this car apparently has a ROM that's not defined, so I had to do all this weird hackery type BS to get it to work. So it inherits from a 2014. I'm not going to go into all that, but anyways, we got it defined, but unfortunately there's I know for the 8s and 9s there's a way to disable the immobilizer, but unfortunately on the 10 there doesn't seem to be a way to do it. Not that that's written out in plain English anyways. So all right, so as you guys can see, the Evo is now starting and it obviously runs. So we did actually a lot of stuff. I had my locksmith buddy come out and program it, and it would program partially, but it wouldn't go all the way. It said a lot of mismatched stuff. And what we ended up doing, and unfortunately this happened so quickly, so I wasn't able to get any videos of anything of what we had to do. So I'm going to kind of point to you guys what we ended up having to do here. I'm also going to flash the access port map back on that was on it before. That way we can get the car back to what it was, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so now that the access port is doing its thing, it actually was this module here. This is actually what broke before, and you can see the antenna material that came off of it. And so there was a mismatch on this, and we could not program over this. So we ended up taking both of them, the old one and the new one, and I desoldered the board and I soldered this one with this antenna. Then we were actually able to fully program it because it would only program halfway, and that's actually what officially got the car to start.